Hello, everyone. I'm Adam with Demiplane. Thank you for joining me for this week's development update and community Q&A session. We've got some exciting news that we're just going to kick things right off with here today. We have the Murder World that Tom forgot, an original adventure presented by Demiplane that is releasing for the Marvel Multiverse role-playing game today, and it is out now. So if you pre-ordered the core rulebook back before August, you're going to actually get an email with a product key for that because that was one of the pre-order bonuses. But if you didn't get a chance to get in on that, you can pick up the core rulebook for the game. You could pick up the Cataclysm of Kang, which is the first adventure anthology that was released for the Marvel RPG. And then today, you can grab the Murder World that Tom forgot. And this is a really exciting adventure. Our team has worked really hard on this. We have worked with some incredible creators to make this happen. And we're going to talk to one of them a little bit later. I've got Jim Zub, who is the lead writer for this adventure. I had a conversation with him last night that we are going to air for you today. He couldn't join us live because he's being very responsible and teaching young minds to expand at his university this morning. So he had to go to class. But I had a conversation with him last night that was a really good conversation, and we're going to show that to you a little bit later in the stream. But first, we are going to go through our usual suspects here. We're going to talk about anything that you might have missed, anything that we're currently working on, and anything that is kind of in that on deck status, the things that are on the short term horizon that we are focused on. Today, we are giving away 4 copies of this new adventure, The Murder World that Tom forgot. And so you can pay attention to chat for the prompts on what you need to do to enter that giveaway. And good luck to you all. And as always, you can ask questions, and that can start right now. I see questions already coming in. All you have to do is type the word question and then follow that by the question itself. And our magical demi bot will collect those, and I will get to as many as I have time for at the end of the stream. All right, let's jump in. On the Candela Obscura front, in case you missed it, we have released Candela Obscura Nexus. It is out there. It is the first Nexus that we have launched that has the full run of all 3 core features in place right from the onset of that Nexus, and we're really excited about that. We love seeing the response that we've gotten for Candela Obscura Nexus. We are still doing the launch celebration, so you can still get $10 whole off of the Candela Obscura core rulebook now. So definitely get in on that before you miss out. I believe I keep mixing this date up, but I believe it is at least going through the end of this year. So I think that's right around it. So you've got a little bit longer to take advantage of that. On the Marvel Multiverse RPG front, we are live, as I said, with Murder World, but we also have the pre-order for the X-Men expansion up and ready, so you can get prepared for that to hit your Demiplane account when that gets released next year. I am thoroughly excited for that one. I've got just the smallest hints of what's going to be in there, and I'm really excited about what that is going to mean for the game. On the vampire front, in case you missed it, we added a new notes section. This is something that proved to be very popular with Candela Obscura Nexus, where we had a journal section. And so we have actually replicated that now for vampire, and you're able to take, kind of just discrete individual notes that you can keep up with during play. We will likely be adding this notes and journal section into other sheets as we go along as well. We're also working on the final stages of the Chicago folios. I expect that to be released before we take our holiday break, so before the end of the year. And then we also have put in place some feedback based updates, some tweaks that have been suggested, and also some bug fixes and some clarifications have also been put in place recently on Vampire Nexus in the last couple of weeks. And then on the Pathfinder Nexus front, in case you missed this, that core remaster, Player Core and GM Core, have been released into the digital reader and game compendium on Pathfinder Nexus, and then very, very soon. And so we're here, and I don't have a specific date for you yet, but I can tell you, you can probably put two and two together as we go through this stream that I'm about to tell you a little bit later that our offices are going to be, closed. We're going to be going dark. I believe the date is December the 19th. And that doesn't mean we're not monitoring services. Everything's going to work for you for all of your holiday gaming that you're going to have out there. We're going to keep an eye on everything, of course. It just means that we're not going to be actively doing new development. We're not going to be streaming. We're not going to be doing those other things. And so as that's coming on, that should tell you a lot about what is going to happen with the release of the Character Tools Performance Refactor, which is the full release of the Pathfinder character tools. We've been in beta for several months. We've been collecting feedback. We've been gathering all the data that we need. Pathfinder is such an expansive game that this beta period has been so invaluable to us to be able not only to get feedback to confirm that the direction we're heading in is the right direction, to be able to tweak things based on feedback, but also to gather a metric ton of information and data on performance that have allowed us to really, really go in and address that, because that's been the biggest core issue that we've seen coming out of the beta. So as we get into the full launch version of Pathfinder Nexus character tools. It's definitely going to be snappier, more performant. It's going to be more in line with what we would expect to see. And that's not to say that we won't continue to look for ways to improve over time, but it's going to be a massive, massive step, and it's going to make these tools an invaluable resource for your Pathfinder games. And like I said, we are planning to go dark on December 19th. So that tells you that it's not going to be too much longer before we have this out to you. We are also really committed to getting a digital companion that we've worked on for the Hero deck. That's hit the back burner after we found out all these plans from Paizo about the remaster, and that we would have to focus on that, especially as some of those details started to materialize. The Hero deck went on the back burner to a degree, but we are polishing that up and are going to get that out before we head into that holiday break as well. So a couple of very exciting things happening on the Pathfinder Nexus front, and keep your eyes peeled in the next week or two on those. And there are going to be some big updates happening. I wanted to talk very briefly about what that means when it comes to releasing the full launch version of the character tools for Pathfinder Nexus. When we initially launch those, our goal initially is to confirm that the platform, that the system is working as intended. So when we initially release this, any of your beta characters, nothing at all is going to happen to your beta characters. They're still going to be there. They're going to be using all that legacy content that you've been using for Pathfinder. So again, no changes. All new characters going forward would be utilizing the full launch version. So if you create a new character after these updates go out, then that new character is always going to be on the new stuff. Those older characters are going to stay on that V0 version of the character builder and digital character sheet as we initially launch those tools. So if you're really wanting to take advantage of the new fast performant character tools, it's something where you can translate your character and update your character anyway. A lot of people we understand are going to want to do that to take advantage of the remastered content anyway. And then so you can jump in on that if you want to, manually come in and create the character, recreate that character in the launch version of the tools. As we come back from the holiday break, we will start looking at, how many people take advantage of that, ability to recreate, and then we will start formulating a plan for any kind of translation updates that we can do to kind of make that process a little bit more automated from there. But if you want to take advantage of the new hotness right away, you can recreate your characters in the full launch version of the character tools, or you can create new characters, and they're going to be fully taking advantage of that. And then we'll have more updates after we come into the new year in 2024 on what that means for any of those beta and legacy characters, and what that might mean for updates. As you can imagine, with the remaster, there's some complexity there, because any kind of automation that we could provide, we need to be really really clear about what it's doing, since there are replacements and alternates, game elements in the new remastered content. So the safest and quickest way to get into the new full launch character tools is going to be able to recreate that character. And the great thing about the character tools is that, especially with as performant as they are going to be post update when we have the full launch version out there, is you'll be able to recreate those characters very very briskly and quickly. And so I know that that's going to be the option that many of you are going to go with, and we'll provide more details on the rest of that process when we come back from the holiday break. Character tools roadmap, no changes here. I hinted last time that we've got several more redacteds that are kind of making it into the list. We've got some fun ones lined up for 2024. I can't wait for you to see everything that we're going to be doing. It's going to be a blast. I can't wait. I can't wait to get into next year. I love, our teams put together, 5 games. We're going to be releasing 5 games with full character tool support within about 5 months. And so the platform is paying off, and we're looking forward to that momentum going into next year for new games that you don't even know about yet. And then some that we have been talking about, like Alien. Very excited to get into that one very quickly here. Features roadmap. I talked a little bit about homebrew support. That is a major key thing. We see that as a prerequisite for 5e Nexus character tools, because we understand that due to the nature of 5e and third party content for 5e in particular, being able to homebrew in a seamless and easy way is foundational. And so really there's no point in us releasing character tools for 5e until homebrew support is in place, that will allow you to have the flexibility that you need to bring to life your 5e characters. So that's a big thing we'll be working on. And then, once that is in place, that's where we'll turn our Eye of Sauron onto 5e character tools, because we'll have the needed prerequisite in place. We are doing some fun things with groups. I was looking again at some design mock-ups yesterday, having big conversations about it. It's going to streamline things, dramatically. It's going to integrate with everything else that we've been doing with these great digital tools as well. And then I saw some, conversation about this week. Again, out in our forums and Discord, but API export integrations. There's a lot of semantics that go around those things, but these are things that are also kind of on that features roadmap that we expect we will start looking into as we head into 2024. All right. At this point in time, what we are going to do is I am, those are the updates for everything that's going in. As I mentioned earlier in the stream, I had a wonderful conversation with Jim Zub last night, and we are now going to play that for you, and continue. Feel free to continue asking questions, because once we play this, I'm going to come back after this conversation and answer those questions for you. Let's play it. Hello, everybody. I am here with someone very special I am just so honored and pleased to know in recent years because he does such an incredible job with everything that he touches. This is Jim Zub. Jim, thank you so much for joining.
Oh, Adam, man, you're making me blush here. It's amazing. Thank you. Thank you for having me. It is a thrill to be here and to be able to, announce this special project with you. I am so
It is such a special project. And I'm going to start by letting everybody in a little bit on the process here. So when Marvel released their Marvel Multiverse RPG, and of course, Demiplane, we partnered with Marvel to provide the official digital tool set for the Marvel RPG. We started talking about adventures and adventure content, and we had the opportunity to actually produce and go in and make an adventure for this game, which is always wonderful because if you're running these games, you know that there's hardly ever enough content for you to run for these games and to get inspiration from. And so we thought it would be a great thing for us to jump in and make an adventure. And so when we started talking with Marvel, we're going to do 3 of these at least to start with here. And what we're talking about today is the Murderworld That Time Forgot. And that is the first adventure that is releasing of the 3-part kind of loosely connected series. So it's great. Each of these adventures you will be able to play as a one shot if you want to, completely disconnected from everything else in your campaign, or as all 3 are released, you can kind of play them in some sort of sequence that kind of have that loose connection. So really excited about that. And the last thing that I will say is the reason that it is called the Murderworld That Time Forgot. Anyone who watches our development update streams knows that I'm a huge dinosaur fan, and I love dinosaurs and consume every bit of media that I can find with dinosaurs in it. And so when we started thinking about the first adventure here at Demiplane, I knew that I wanted it to involve the Savage Land, and I knew that I wanted it to involve dinosaurs. And then the next step was pulling in someone that I knew that could do Murderworld justice, and there's no one better suited for that than you, Jim. And so let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, man.
What is your background with Murderworld?
Well, I've been writing comics for, oh God, it's crazy to say. I've been writing comic books for like 15 years. I've done a lot of different projects at Marvel, but my latest Marvel project that came out earlier this year is actually Murderworld.
So he's got it. I love it.
Yeah, right there on camera. I wrote a miniseries. Ray Fox and I wrote this amazing miniseries. It's actually a concept that we've had for a long, long time, taking that concept of Murderworld and sort of blowing it up to just the craziest series of unexpected traps and crazy elements. If you guys don't know what Murderworld is, I can roll it back even further.
Yeah, let's roll it back. Like,
before there are people
watching.
Before there was ever a Squid Game, before there was ever the Hunger Games, there was Murderworld. Murderworld is very much a classic staple of the Marvel Universe. There's this villain named Arcade, and he has his own sort of crazy murderous theme park that he calls Murderworld. And over the years, he has tried to trap and slay a multitude of heroes using these weird, cartoonish, circus-like environment, ludicrous, over-the-top traps, and robotic doubles. And so it's always been a favorite of mine. Although he originally started as a Spider-Man villain from an issue of Marvel Team Up, he's become quite closely associated with the X-Men over the years. And I always loved when they would get dragged to Murderworld. And so it's been something that I've loved for years and years and years. A good friend of mine.
Arcade is that kind of character, though, that isn't like, hey, I'm just going to do the direct approach and just snipe this character from
it has to be
1,000
the
yards
most
away.
Ludicrous and dramatic way as possible. It has to be thematic. It has to be poetic. It has to make for good entertainment. And that's what makes it so fun, is in some ways the artifice of it, the artificiality of Murderworld is the whole point. Your characters know that they're trapped in this terrible, game show. And the only way that they are going to be able to make it out is if they play, or if they play against, the contest as it stands. The idea that got generated back and forth with you and the team and Matt Forbeck and everyone else sort of involved with the Marvel Multiverse RPG was this idea of the Murderworld That Time Forgot. So now we've got the addition of the Savage Land, we've got dinosaurs, everyone's getting what they want out of this. That's what I'm trying to say.
And so for those who might not know what the Savage Land is, right, I'm going to let you give just a little cross section.
Roll it back again. The Savage Land is another famous kind of Marvel setting. It's this area in the Antarctic Antarctic that through sort of magic or scientific kind of means is a jungle. It's a deep tropical jungle hidden in the middle of the Antarctic. In the middle of this frozen wasteland, there is this sort of incredible oasis of literally where time forgot. That's where character Kazar comes from, and all these different kind of jungle adventure characters over the years in the Marvel Universe have come to land. And it's a really cool space. And this idea of combining that, this very classic kind of Marvel trope, with Murderworld and jamming them together is a really fun bit of inspiration.
Death
and
Traps and Dinosaurs was the internal pitch. Yeah,
Death Traps and Dinosaurs. And it works so well, and it's so much fun. So our plan was, how can we make a great, memorable, Marvel-worthy adventure, but also be as new narrator friendly as possible? We want this to be, if you have never run a tabletop role-playing game before, if you have never been a game master, dungeon master, narrator, if you don't know how this stuff works, how can we comfortably onboard you to the precepts of role-playing games? I've got a bit of a kind of special, I guess you call expertise in that way as well. My wife and I work on this series called the Dungeons and Dragons Young Adventurers Guides, and those are built to bring new players into our hobby. That tabletop role-playing games is easy for anyone to sort of jump into. And we learned so much working on that series in terms of how people can use narrative play to become good role players, to feel comfortable at the table. And I feel like the Marvel Multiverse role-playing game is a really unique opportunity to grab people's attention, because you have these characters that are world famous, that everyone knows, and they have a good sense of those personalities. A lot of times when you bring new people into a role-playing game and you say, you can do whatever you want, they're more intimidated.
It can be overwhelming.
Well, because unlike other games, you're like, well, what are the rules? You say, well, there are rules here. You roll dice and do things, but you can do whatever you want. And here you say, no, yes, you can do whatever you want. But today you're going to be playing Captain America, or you're going to be playing, Miles Morales Spider-Man, or you're going to be playing Tony Stark or Captain Marvel or anyone else. And now all of a sudden you've given someone a framework to understand their behavior and to role play the character. The joke, like, what would Steve Rogers do? Like, it's that kind of concept of a really easy way to introduce people to role-playing games, a really fun way to create your own comic book style adventures. And in this case, we've built this adventure specifically to give you as much information and to help you think through what that gameplay process is.
Looking at that on Demiplane real quick, if you are trying to get started in our character builder, you're able to go to just the first screen that you come into in the character builder, and all of those existing characters. So even with the release of Cataclysm of Kang, it added, I think, 80 new characters into the game. And so if any of those characters resonate with you and you want to start with them, and there's a variety of different ranks, kind of the power level of the characters that are represented there. And so for this adventure, we're specifically looking at ranks 1 through 3.
Yeah, so you've got your street level kind of to whatever you want to call early Avengers kind of level heroes. But anyone in that sort of range, we have some suggested heroes if you don't know who you want to pick, and we have some specific scenarios that can play out very well with particular characters. But we want to leave it open to the players that they're excited to jam together, and that even if these heroes have never met each other or teamed up with each other before, within the framework of the adventure, we give you easy ways to bring them together. You don't have to worry about the old kind of fantasy role-playing thing of how do we get everyone to the tavern, how do we get everyone out the door.
Why are they sitting at the same table?
How do we get these people together? And in some ways, I think what I'm most proud of is a bunch of the tools that we include and narrative elements that we include for introduction, what to think about before the game starts, what questions you need to ask your players so that they have a clear understanding of how the game is going to work and what their role is going to be at the table. And not only that, as the game goes on, we try and go into, and I don't want to say that anyone's doing a bad job on other adventures, but really go in depth in terms of the possible outcomes for the adventure. If characters aren't going along with what you may think is the obvious choice, or where these things can lead and how they can use different skills to solve different problems, that it's very much about getting as creative as you can at the table, being able to roll with, the improv nature of tabletop role-playing game, but that you feel really, really well grounded in those choices, that that whatever happens in the murder world that time forgot, that you're going to be ready for it, and it's going to be fun, it's going to be entertaining. One of the things you and I were talking about before we started recording here was that idea of the box text, which is definitely an older concept and a bit of a throwback. But when you've got characters like Arcade, for example, who's got a very competent, boisterous, braggadocious kind of approach to the way he insults heroes and the way he eggs them on. I wanted to give as many examples of that as possible within the text so that, again, the narrator feels really comfortable. They can get into the role of Arcade. They can push and prod at the heroes, give them nicknames and mess with them, mess with their expectations and mess with their heads so that they have that goal that they're striving against, that the heroes want to take Arcade down and they want to find a way through, this crazy contest, all these traps, all these dangers. And that even though there are a lot of twists and turns to the adventure, that the narrator, again, knows where it's coming, can foreshadow or can build it in there and surprise the players properly, make sure that everyone's going to have an amazing, entertaining time and feel like they've gone on an amazing, Marvel multiverse adventure.
I think that's one of the most important bits of advice I ever heard over the years about running any kind of these games and trying to really get to that point of verisimilitude. Not necessarily realism or immersion, but this idea that everyone's bought in at the table.
Yep.
And,
Yep.
And I think that one of the best bits of advice I ever heard was this idea that NPCs have motivations. And they do have a voice. And if you, as someone who's running these games, in this case as a narrator, if you can find the voice of that NPC, it really does help you understand those motivations. And I love the way that again, you literally wrote the book, the most recent book on Murderworld here, and all these examples of how Arcade would actually act and how he would speak, and they're lists of nicknames for and everything. So there's so much that is provided to help players and in particular narrators find what that voice is and help them along.
Yeah, and not just give them a series of encounters, but explain to them how the encounters are structured and why they're paced out the way they are. To explain in terms of what we think of as obvious in terms of dramatic storytelling. If I'm writing a comic or any other kind of dramatic story, the rise and fall of action, the ability for characters to have quiet moments and then to build up the big payoffs. That the most exciting things are building in sequence up to this climactic, final encounter. And obviously, I don't want to spoil any of that stuff because I'm really, really proud of how some of those play out. And some of the things that seem really innocuous at the start of the adventure suddenly become the things that, could really take the characters down and push them to really want to, defeat the bad guys and survive this crazy encounter and see how it all plays out. That there is no simple straight line through Murderworld, that there is no simple answer, and that whether it is, a physical confrontation or using skills or just thinking your way through a problem, that those things are all going to be equally, valid at the table and exciting for those players. And by the time that it all wraps up, you feel like, man, I just played one of the best comic book stories, comic book movies I've ever seen. And that you are not only did you have an amazing time, but that you feel confident you could take those skills and keep running the Marvel Multiverse game or any other role-playing game, out there. One of the other things that in that same boat, we talked about the ability for players to talk about after the adventure, that we have sort of like a cool down period. What do we call it? It's the
retrospective. Yeah,
that's right.
Retrospective.
So when you finish the adventure, that the narrator and the players get together and you talk about what worked well and what didn't, or what rules are we, unclear on, and how are we ready for next time, and things like that.
I think that's really unique. I think that's really unique for this adventure in particular, because you see that in the tabletop role playing space a good bit with things like playtesting. It's like, hey, let's talk about how this went in playtesting, where we can make tweaks to the content before it releases. And I think it's really important for this because when you are playing with a group, even if it's a group that you don't suspect you will see again necessarily, it's still really great to have that time of reflection to see what worked, what didn't, what you'd like to keep doing, what you want to stop doing, all those kind of things.
That is what makes tabletop role-playing games so unique. It is the interactive component. We are not passive viewers of a film or reading a book and watching the narrative sort of play out before us. We are engaged with it and we are active participants in it. That's what makes it so valuable to us, and why I think, you and I and all the other gamers we know, why we're so dedicated to the hobby, to the art form. Like, I love writing stories. I love writing comics. It's deep, deep in my blood. But I've got dice right there next to it. Like I would not be a writer without tabletop role playing games. I would not be the kind of creative person that I am and be so engaged with creating characters, creating stories and narrative if I didn't grow up playing tabletop.
And I found there's something really special about crafting stories that or it's almost like the sour bread starter of stories that then
Absolutely.
other people take and bake into these beautiful loaves or whatever,
Yeah.
and so it's like that idea of writing and putting those components together for a tabletop RPG adventure that then others are able to experience. I don't even think I told you this. I don't think I told you this, Jim, but I did run the adventure because
did you?
I always like to to do like a little bit of a litmus test of like, hey, does it, I know that we made this, but like, does this even work? And honestly, I had two people because I at the end of it, I did some retrospective together with everybody because we went through the adventure, but then I also separately got everyone, and the feedback that I got from two of the four players was it felt exactly like their favorite comics, which was wonderful. And then obviously the other two had really good feedback too, but I found it so interesting that they felt like they participated in telling a comic book, themed in a feel of a story. And again, you've been able to write this, you put that sourdough starter out there, and then other people get to bake that bread. And I love
so cool. Like I love working on the Marvel comics, and I love doing, doing Murderworld was a really special project. It was one of the earliest projects that I ever pitched to Marvel, and it gestated for years and years and years before its time came about, and I finally got to do it. But now to create this, and it's not the same as the comic book story. They're very different in the way they approach the material. But I felt like I had a really good handle on Arcade and the kinds of things that he would do. And putting him in this environment in the Savage Land, it's like, all right, now I'm role playing. What would Arcade do if he had this, resources at his disposal and all this kind of stuff? And building this framework, exactly like you said, like a sourdough starter, where now I think what I'm really pumped is in the weeks and months to come, when people play this on Demiplane, when they run this with their own groups, whether they're running it online on a stream, whether they're running it with their friends at the table, in the same physical space, whatever that ends up being, what kind of stories are they going to tell? What was that cast of characters? What twists and turns really caught them off guard? What did they get, what did they figure out ahead of time? And what stuff completely bamboozled them right till the end? I cannot wait to hear those kinds of stories because we germinated this really cool thing at the start, and now they get to take it and run with it. And that's what makes role-playing games so amazing. And that's what's going to be, just so much fun to see now that our little murder world is out in the world.
I cannot wait for people to get their hands on it. And you can do that right now. The adventure is released. If you pre-ordered the core rulebook before it was released, you're actually going to be getting a code, a product key for that to unlock that on Demiplane. That was one of the pre-order bonuses. But if you didn't get in on that, you're able to pick it up on Demiplane on the Marvel RPG Nexus. Right now, I want you to check out the Murder World that Tom forgot. We are really, really happy with how this wonderful little completely dangerous and terrifying adventure came together. Death Traps and Dinosaurs. That's it. What more could you possibly want? Jim, thank you so much for joining me. I want to give
my absolute pleasure.
You a chance here also to talk about anything else that you might have going on, because I hope that you talk about this other little thing that I'm looking forward to. I'm about to hit a holiday break where I'm going to be off for like 3 weeks, and I'm going to get my battery all the way to 100% charge, before the new year. But when I'm doing that, I always pick out some kind of comic series that I'm going to catch up on. And the one that is at the top of my list this year is I am going to check out everything that you've recently been doing with coding.
Oh, man.
I cannot wait. So what are some things you have going on right now?
I really appreciate that. Obviously, I did the Murder World series earlier this year, and it was a ton of fun. I hope you guys get a chance to check that out and that it inspires you on your own Murder World adventures. But honestly, my main focus right now on the comic front really is Conan the Barbarian. He is, the world's most famous sword and sorcery character, and I am the flagship writer on this new publishing initiative that this company called Heroic Signatures. They're the rights holders for Conan. They're now self-publishing the book with Titan Comics as our partner, and I'm working directly for the rights holders. I'm the Conan writer for the foreseeable future, and we have big, crazy, amazing plans. We launched over the summer, and it has been like lightning. Honestly, the response.
I have heard nothing but good things. That's why it's at the top of my list. I can't wait.
ton of fun. When we record this, issue 5 just came out last week, and we had a ton of amazing responses. I have never gotten so many amazing reviews for the 5th issue of a series.
It
Uh,
trails off a good bit.
normally it trails off
Typically,
so
yeah.
much, but honestly, our readership is growing from issue to issue, which is
Awesome to see.
unheard of in terms of monthly comics. We're getting just a phenomenal response. The book is going to be out in 5 more languages over the next 6 months across Europe. We're super excited. We've got amazing, huge plans. We just announced the for Free Comic Book Day coming in May 2024. We're going to have a Conan Free Comic Book Day, just like we did in 2023. But this one's going to be launching a big event around that called the Battle of the Blackstone, which is going to be the biggest, craziest Conan story you have ever seen. And we're just super, super proud of it. I've got lots of amazing comics on the go. Dungeons and Dragons Fortune Finder is coming out right now from IDW. I've got more cool, stuff in the hopper, more Young Adventurers guys that I'm developing over at Random House, and hopefully more amazing stuff for Marvel Multiverse. Thanks to
Yeah, I would.
you and our friends at.
We've got 3 of these adventures, so it might be great to see you come back at least. So
It will be amazing.
we'll see. Can't wait. Can't wait. Thanks again, Jim. Really appreciate it. We'll talk to you again soon. And I know that I'm echoing what you say here. I cannot wait to see the stories that people are going to tell in the murder world that time forgot.
I hope you all make yours Marvel. Take care now.
Later, guys. And we are back. I hope you enjoyed that conversation. I certainly did. You might, we're able to tell that probably, but yeah, it's dinosaurs, everyone. So it's. I remember the very first time that I learned about the Savage Land when I would have been 10 or 11 at that point, and I was just enamored. I went home and drew my own adventures in the Savage Land. It really is a dream to be able to put something together in an adventure like this. I think you're going to love it if you try it out. So definitely give it a try. I wanted to do a quick heads up that, as I referred to earlier, we are going to be taking a holiday break. Our team's been working really, really hard and has been doing some incredible work. And we're coming to that time of the year that many software companies do this. But we are going to be, kind of going dark as we hit about the 18th of December through, kind of that first week of January. As I mentioned before, of course, all services are going to be monitored. We'll have people on call. We will absolutely, work through support tickets if things are, broken. So all of that, no fears there, but the team is going to be taking some much needed R&R in order to kind of get, this is our chance to get the battery to 100% charge before we return for 2024, and just blaze out of the gate again and have another huge year, even bigger than what has happened, especially this back half of 2023. So, really looking forward to this time personally. I'm looking forward to our team being able to enjoy this time as well. But wanted to give everybody a heads up. So, next week will be the last dev update stream of the year. But I'll be back with you on the flip side. And then also next week will be our last, we're actually going to have an On the Air Tay holiday special with everybody. So everybody from the cast plus Sam DeLev are going to be on there next week. So I think that's the 12th. And that will be our last stream of the year. But we will catch you on the flip side. All right. If it hasn't happened already, the giveaway can go on. We're giving away 4 copies of The Murderworld that time forgot. Good luck to everyone out there. And otherwise, I'm going to jump back into questions and hit as many as I can. I've got several here. I'm going to try to rapid fire. So here we go. Rel, hey, what's the process of getting a new TTRPG onto Demiplane? Not to put too fine a point on it, but you've got to talk to me. But at this point, I can tell you that our dance card is really, really full as we head into next year. But that's not to say you can email publishers at demiplane.com and let us know about whatever game you're talking about. if you are the publisher, and we'll be happy to talk to you. But we definitely have our roadmap pretty established for the next couple of quarters at least. But if you are a publisher out there and you have an RPG that you would like to see get on Demiplane, email publishers at demiplane.com and we can discuss that further. Link Cable, will there be more original Demiplane content for other Nexus games like the Murderworld adventure for the Marvel MRPG? I can't confirm anything like that at this point in time, other than there will be two more Marvel adventures coming. So we'll share more details about those as we head into early next year. But there will be two other Marvel adventures, and it would not surprise me in the slightest if we had additional original content coming out as we get further down the road. UK Haiku, what are your plans for supporting errata for the two PF2E books? Remaster triggered errata for other books, we're going to handle it. So we are always going to be using the most up to date rules per all official errata released by Paizo. So as errata is released, we will be handling that in our system. If there's something more specific there that I'm missing, feel free to ask a follow up. Link Cable, I understand you most likely won't know yet what exactly is in the X-Men expansion book. So my question is, what do you hope to see included in it? Rules, powers, pre-made characters, etc. Yeah, I will. That's dangerous for me to do that kind of stuff because people sometimes interpret that as less less wish list and more prognostication, which I can say that I have not seen anything actually in the book yet. I've had a couple of kind of vague teases as to what might happen in it, but I can say that I am going to love seeing the character profiles for characters that we still haven't seen yet from the X Men. So that's going to be pretty exciting for me to see. I would love to see them explore some of the alternate universes of the X Men. Things like Age of Apocalypse and some of those kind of things. And again, I don't know if they're going to do that or not. So don't read into that. But I think that would be fun. And then I will say that we saw some vehicles introduced with Cataclysm of Kang, and I would love to see the Blackbird because the Blackbird is pretty iconic to me. So I'll throw those out there in response. Milestone 20, is there a way on the site to see a list of compendium purchases and when they were purchased? I'm not positive. I think there's an orders area. Yeah, you can definitely get that list from support. But that is something that as we look at marketplace and orders in general, as we continue to go forward, that is something that would certainly be on the list of things that we would do. But again, support can help if there's something going on that you want to know specifically there. Risa Malima, since the holidays are approaching, if dinosaurs pulled Santa's sleigh, which ones would it be? That's a really good question. Um, I mean, I do think that a Gallimimus would really do pretty well with that. I feel like if it was a team of Gallimimuses, is Gallimimus the plural of Gallimimus? It might be. Um, but anyway, that's maybe one that would come to mind. But I think you couldn't go with Triceratops or anything related to that because that'd be very dangerous. If they're in kind of the harnesses and all that. So yeah, that's what I will do at least for now. Now, you could just have a single, Allosaurus or something pull it by themselves. So that I guess is also an option. But we'll say Gallimimus for this. The Blue Wolf, is there a way or plan to implement a way to gift content to a Demiplane account? Yes, there is a plan to implement a way, and I we thought that it might happen by now, but we're not quite there, but we're pretty close, and we'll share more as we have more details. Murgon, do the new live Pathfinder tools work with non-remastered? That's a good question, and yes, you can toggle legacy content on to continue using legacy content in the full launch version of the character tools. Yes, if you want to play with legacy content, you will be able to do that in the new full launch version of the character tools. Link Cable, have you ever used the TTRPG game system to run a themed session before based on a popular franchise? Examples using Pathfinder 2e to play Final Fantasy 14 theme session or Essence 20 to play your own TMNT game. Yes, I certainly have. I have I've used 5e for a lot of different things. We've played as recreating Marvel characters in 5e, DC characters in 5e. We have done something with Mortal Kombat using 5e. I will also say that 5e is not necessarily best suited for many of these things, but there was some familiarity with the players, and so that's why we went with it. I have also used the Year Zero engine in a variety of things that literally is a list too long to put out there. I also like Mork Borg because of how lightweight things are with that. So I've used that in a variety of things. I may even be working on a personal project that's kind of a Mork Borg hack. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, they're those are systems that if I'm doing something these days, I'm probably using something year zero for those kinds of related things because some of the people I play with are pretty familiar with it. So I think that's what it comes down to a lot of the time is whoever you're going to play with, the people being familiar with a system are going to make an adaptation a lot easier to play because you don't necessarily want lack of familiarity to kind of halt some of the translation between the things when you're adapting. UK Haiku, are there any future plans to support Pathfinder Infinite or for third party PF2E content? Yes, we do have plans. We don't have a lot of details that we can share at this point in time, but it is something that we would like to do. Milestone 20, is there a Demiplane supported way to get content offline? I'd love to be able to read books on a plane. Yeah, most of these planes have Wi-Fi now, so and a lot of times it's free, at least when I fly. So, just saying, definitely check into those possibilities because I've been pretty surprised at how easy it's been for me to get Wi-Fi on planes recently, anyway. But no, we do not currently have dedicated plans for anything to go offline. That's not to say that we won't at any point in the future. And I think that every day we're alive on this planet, offline capability becomes less and less important. So uh, lots of trains coming into different stations here. Also, browsers are starting to explore other ways to get things offline. So again, I if we see enough community demand for that, it's a problem that we will dedicate resources to solving. At this point in time, we have other priorities that we're working on, so it's not anything that'll be on the short term roadmap. But we'll continue to monitor that demand and see what we need to do over time. Link Cable, will there be a physical copy for the Murder World book? No current details or plans for that. So I won't say that there never will be, but no, it is digital only, and it's something that you can access on the Marvel Multiverse RPG Nexus. Marshall Marsh is, what's Jim Zub's favorite dinosaur? Honestly, that is a question that I ask people most of the time. It's probably third on the list that I ask most people when I meet them for the first time. I can't honestly remember what Jim's was. I do know that he was a fan of the ones that we've included in this adventure, but I don't know which one was. I can't remember which one was his favorite. Cato Flex, who is your favorite X Man? Um, you know, just like with dinosaurs, there are seasons to this sometimes. But I am naturally a really big fan of Wolverine because when I was a kid, that was kind of the first thing. But I would say that generally my favorite member of the X Men is Beast. Been a big Beast fan my entire life, but I also have a huge affinity for Nightcrawler and Colossus and Storm. So those are among my favorite there. And depending on which day of the week you ask, I might give a slightly different answer. Link Cable, who's your favorite X Men villain? Magneto, hands down, not even close. Magneto, but there are others that I appreciate and enjoy quite a bit. I have loved some of the recent stuff with Mister Sinister. Um, that's been very interesting. And then I certainly like Apocalypse. And I know people are going to be like, well, actually, those folks are maybe not villains today, but I would say that if we're looking at it holistically across the history of the franchises, those would be my answer for the villains. And then lastly, last question from Demiplane RPG: how was PAX? PAX Unplugged was great. It really is a great show. Maybe saw some of you there. It was great to see you, and definitely love what happens at that show. It really is one of the better shows of the year, and for me, it was a great way to kind of end this convention year at PAX Unplugged. It's always a great time. And then one more came in. I'll go ahead and do 13 Ginger. Any chances for other than English language on Demi for sources, core books, and adventures? There's certainly a chance. There are complications to making it happen. I also saw this in my past life at DDB, and it's probably a chicken and egg thing, but providing some non English language translations of books, the demand was not confirmed, so they did not move. No one bought them, but at the same time, there are probably many reasons that happened. Such as it was just the source book translation and the rest of the platform and service was not fully localized. Lots and lots of challenges with that. Some of the biggest companies in the world, struggle with localization, and I've seen that firsthand too. Not definitely not saying never here. It's something we would love to do. Something that we have had some early discussions about with some of our publishing partners, but certainly no news that I can share at this point in time. But we would love to do it if we can figure out a way to do it. Using a good approach. It's something that we would love to see. We'll share more as we have it. All right, that's all the questions. I appreciate you joining me for this supersized version of the dev update today. Thanks to everyone out there. As I said, we do have our last regular episode of Children of Arete tonight at 6 p.m. Pacific. And then next week, I'll be back for, a holiday special dev update in the last one of the years. Hope everybody has a great week. Check out the Murder World that Tom forgot and survive all those dinosaurs. Later, Gators.